In this video article, we're going to look at how bass players can work on their internal sense of time and at the same time get subliminal ear training as well. Before we get started, this is a screenshot of my Amazon author page, details some of the books that I have. If you're new to me, my name is Paul Wolf. My website is howtoplaybassdotcom, and the quickest way to find out anything about me is go to, say, Learning from James Jameson Volume 1, read some of the reviews. You'll find out about how students just like you perceive my teaching. Anyway, let's move on to how to work on your internal sense of time. Now, back in the 90s, I was working on jazz, and that was both walking bass and soloing. And there's a really common idea in jazz where you use the metronome as a practice tool, but what you do is you get the metronome to represent beats 2 and 4. So, for example, say you're working on a walking bass line, 140 beats per minute, you'd set your metronome to 70 beats per minute, and each click would represent either beat 2 or beat 4. So that makes you responsible for beats 1 and 3. It's a great way to improve your sense of time, but there's a problem with it. And that problem is it gives you rhythmic information only. So it's representing the drum set, if you like. One of my beliefs is that the reason that keyboard players and guitar players are always the musicians in the band who've got the best ears is because they're always playing chords as part of their practice, so they're getting subliminal ear training all the time, whereas for a long time bass players would just practice with drum grooves, and again, there's no harmony with just drum grooves. It's just rhythmic information. Now, having rhythmic information is obviously important for the bass's role in the band, but also practicing with things that have, or practice tracks that have harmonic information as well, allows our practice to do double and triple duty because it exposes our ears to the sound of chords while we're practicing whatever it is we're practicing. So, enter Band in a Box into the story. About 10 years ago, I was doing some teaching and I was creating some tracks with Band in a Box. And the hybrid style I created had a muted guitar chop on beats 2 and 4, which was very Motown-esque. And I got that guitar sound soloing in Band in a Box, and I was humming my bass line along to it, and suddenly I realized that this was a track that had a click on beats 2 and 4, and that click was harmonic. And because of that, I dubbed it the harmonic click. And so what I wanted to do is show you a series of exercises with this simple line, and this simple line is just taken from Module 3 of my How to Play Bass in 50 Songs sequence, and showing you how you can use this harmonic click. Now, before we do that, here is the kind of practice track that I try and use with a lot of my stuff, so you can hear something that has rhythm, it has harmony, and you can hear the bass line in context. So there you have it. It's just a really simple bass line in a vaguely 60s rock feel. And now what we're going to do is work through the harmonic click series. And what we're going to do is play that verse with a track which has got a harmonic click on beats 2 and 4. And then I'm going to play it with a track where the harmonic click is just on beat 2. So when I'm on that track, I'm responsible for beats 1, beats 3, and beats 4. And then I've also got a track with a harmonic click, and should say on beat 4 of every bar. So here's the first one of those exercises. This is the harmonic click on beats 2 and 4. And what's interesting about that exercise with that particular bass line is the bass line never plays on beat 2. So the click always happens when the bass is sustaining and waiting to come in and play a note on the and of beat 2. Next one in the series, the harmonic click is on beat 2 only. So let's listen to this. Okay, that faded out a bit quickly, but the next track we've got has got the harmonic click on 4 only. Now, if you get to do these series of exercises, here's a piece of advice for you. If you make a mistake, try not to go back and start again. Try and keep going and pick the click up. I had something happen in the 3rd bar of this exercise, and you'll hear I'm slightly ahead of the 4 because my phone beeped in my pocket and put me off. But notice, if you carry on watching, you'll see that I picked it back up and just kept playing. And that's a great little practice tip for when you're practicing stuff for the real world, because if you make a mistake when you're playing on the bandstand, you've got to keep going. You've got to pick up, you've got to forget the mistake that you made and pick up and just keep playing forward. So let's listen to that. Okay, so it would have been really easy to have just started filming that again and edited that mistake out, but I kept it in because it's an important piece of learning, is when you're practicing, if the mistake you make is not catastrophic, then keep going, because when you're playing in a live environment, you will make small mistakes like that. Now, if you wanted to make this more advanced, here are some ways of doing it. One is you can slow the tempo down. This is one of the few types of exercise that gets harder as you slow the tempo down. So this one's at 120 beats per minute, which means if it's clicking on beats 2 and 4, it's clicking every second. If you took the tempo down to 90 beats per minute, it would be clicking every 1.5 seconds. Or if you took it down to 60 beats per minute, the click would be clicking every 2 seconds. So although you're still responsible for maintaining the beats in each of the exercises, what happens is the actual physical space between the clicks increases, so it does make it harder. Another way is you can try alternating 2 only and 4 only, so that would be a click happening every 6 beats. If you're getting really cool with this exercise, you could do 2 only every other bar, or you could do 4 only every other bar. In both of those exercises, you're responsible for 7 or 8 beats. That's harder, and the problem with that one is if you then make a mistake, it's much harder to recover from that. But you can practice and stretch out your sense of internal time and get to that point. And if you can get to that point, you know that your time's in a pretty good place. If you've got the program Band in a Box, you can set all of this up really, really easy. I'm not going to go into how you do that today. That's not the goal of this video. The goal of this video is to make you aware that you can do these time exercises. They work brilliantly to make your sense of internal time better, and that's just an aside that you can set this up easily in Band in a Box. One further tip that's not on the slide deck, if you are part of a band and say at the weekend you've got a gig and you've got to spend practice time going over songs for the gig, let's say you've got 60 minutes worth of stuff you've got to go over, if you do have Band in a Box or however you're going to do this, Do that going over practice time with tracks like this. That way then your practice is still doing something that improves you as a bass player, rather than you're just going over stuff so you don't mess it up at the weekend when you're playing in front of people. You can make that practice that you have to do to ensure that your performance at the gig is spot on. You can make it do double duty, and it can work on building your sense of internal time. I've got a book that goes into this more. It also, as well as doing this harmonic click series of exercises, it also details a series of exercises called the Drop series, which can also help. It's called Time and Groove for Bass Guitar. You find it at your local Amazon. If you purchase it new and send a copy of your invoice to me, then you'll get access for free to the accompanying online web version, and that's got all of the examples played in the book, plus MP3s that you can download and bonus lessons and stuff like that. So do go and check that out on Amazon. Thank you for the time with watching this video. Doing some of these exercises are really good for your internal sense of time, and I highly recommend them. I'll catch you in the next video.